Hello everyone, I'm Sir Chester and welcome sa ating first episode sa ating Basic Calculus series. So for today's video lessons, pag-uusapan natin ang the limit of a function. So basically, this is under functions, limits, and continuity. So before tayo mag-start, let's hit the intro. Okay, here is our objective for this video lesson to illustrate the limit of a function using a table of values and graph of a function. What's in? So consider a function f of a single variable x and consider a constant c which the variable x will approach and c may or may not be in the domain of f. And the limit to be denoted by uppercase L, and this is the unique real value that f of x will approach as x approaches c. In symbol, we write this process as the limit of f of x as x approaches c is L. So, class, sa madaling salita, sa paghanap ng limit ng ating function or sa pagdetermine ng limit ng ating function, ay kailangan natin i-observe kung saan papunta yung values ng ating f of x habang yung x natin ay papalapit kay constant natin. So, para mas lalong maintindihan, let us consider this example. So, we are asked to evaluate the limit of 1 plus 3x as x approaches 2 using the table of values. Sa pag-construct ng table of values, meron tayong set of steps na susundan. So, the first step is by completing a table of values, and we should choose two sets of values. One set of values approaching C and less than C, and another set of values approaching C and greater than C. Paano natin gagawin to? So, let us construct our number line. Once na na-construct natin ating number line, ilolocate natin kung nasaan yung constant natin, which is yung 2. And then, we will provide a values of x coming from the left of 2, such that ang mga values ng x na to ay papalapit kay 2. Ganon din ang gagawin natin sa right side ng 2. Mag-provide tayo ng values ng x such that yung mga values na to ay papalapit kay 2 from the right. So, start tayo kay left. X approaches 2 from the left. Ito yung mga values of x coming from the left of 2. So basically, these values are less than 2. So nag-start tayo kay 1, papunta kay 1.9999999. Next, sa right side tayo. X approaches 2 from the right. Ano yung mga values coming from the right of 2? Okay, here are the values. Nag-start tayo kay 3, papunta kay 2.0000001. Ngayon, na-provide na natin ang mga x values natin coming from the right and left. Pwede na natin kumpletuhin yung table natin. So, let's start from the left. Kailan natin i-substitute yung mga value ng x doon sa function natin, which is 1 plus 3x. So, let's start with x equals 1. So, f of 1 or f of x is 4. For x equals 1.4, ang f of x natin ay 5.2. For x equals 1.7, ang f of x natin ay 6.1. And then, ulitin lang natin yung process hanggang sa makumpleto natin yung table natin. Sa right side naman tayo, let's substitute the values of x into our functions, which is 1 plus 3x. For x equals 3, ang f of x natin ay 10. For x equals 2.5, ang x natin or ang f of x natin ay 8.5. For x equals 2.2, ang f of x natin ay 7.6. And then, ulitin lang natin ulit yung process. So, substitute natin yung mga remaining values of x para makumpleto natin yung table of values natin coming from the right. We are now done in completing our table of values. So, ready na tayo sa step number 2, which is to examine the values in each of the f of x column and determine whether the values seem to be approaching a single value as we move down each column. So, as x approaches 2 from the left, yung f of x natin ay papuntang 6.9999997. So we can now say that the limit of 1 plus 3x as x approaches 2 from the left is 6.9999997 or approximately 7. So class, take note that kapag negative yung sign after ng 2 dito sa constant natin, ibig sabihin yung mga values ng x natin is approaching from the left of 2. Next is to examine the values of f of x as x approaches 2 from the right. So, nag-start siya ng 10 papuntang 7.0000003. So, again, we can now say that the limit of 1 plus 3x as x approaches 2 from the right naman tayo kasi positive yung sign after ng constant or after ng 2 natin. So, this is equals to 7.0000003. So, approximately 7. So, class, tapos na nating i-observe kung saan papunta ang values ng f of x natin, coming from the left and right. So, we are now ready sa ating step number 3. So, ang step number 3 natin ay if both columns approach a common value or a common y value L, we can now state that the limit of f of x as x approaches c is L. Ano ba yung common value nila? Ang common sa kanila ay yung f of x natin, which is approximately 7. Now, the limit of 1 plus 3x as x approaches 2 is 7. Ang tawag sa dalawang ito si limit of 1 plus 3x as x approaches 2 from the left and the limit of 1 plus 3x as x approaches 2 from the right ay one-sided limits. Kapag equal yung one-sided limits natin, masasabi natin na ang limit ng ating function ay kung saan papunta yung f of x natin, which in this case, papunta siyang 7. So let's try another example. So we are asked to evaluate the limit of x squared plus 1 as x approaches negative 1. So start tayo sa first step. Create tayo ng number line and then illocate natin kung nasaan ang ating constant. Ang constant natin ay negative 1. So magpro-provide tayo ng mga values coming from the left of negative 1 such that these values ay papalapit sa ating constant which is negative 1. Sa right side naman tayo, magpro-provide ulit tayo ng mga values ng x such that ang mga values na to ay papalapit kay negative 1. So, construct na tayo ng table of values. As x approaches negative 1 from the left, ito yung mga values na napili natin. Start tayo sa negative 1.5 papuntang negative 1.0001. So for the right side, as x approaches negative 1 from the right, ito naman yung values ng x na napili natin. So from negative 0.5 to negative 0.9999. So, kumpletuhin natin yung table. Substitute the values of x into our f of x, which is x squared plus 1. So, for the left side, if x equals negative 1.5, ang f of x natin ay 3.25. If our x is negative 1.2, ang f of x natin ay 2.44. If x is negative 1.01, ang f of x natin ay 2.0201. If ang x natin ay negative 1.0001, Ang f of x natin ay 2.0002.0001. Sa right side table naman tayo, kailan natin kumpletuhin to? So, at x equals negative 0.5, our f of x is 1.25. For negative 0.8, f of x is 1.64. For negative 0.99, ang f of x natin ay 1.9801. For x equals negative 0.9999, our f of x is 1.999800001. So, complete na ang ating table. Ready na tayo sa step number 2. Examine natin or i-observe natin kung saan papalapit ang value ng f of x natin. So, from the left, our f of x is papuntang 2.0002.0001. So, we can now say that the limit of f of x plus 1 as x approaches negative 1 from the left is equals 2.0002.0001. So, from the right side, ang f of x natin ay papuntang 1.999800001. So, we can now say that the limit of x squared plus 1 as x approaches negative 1 from the right is 1.999800001. So, yung one-sided limits natin from the left and right ay papuntang approximately 2. So, we can now say that the limit of x squared plus 1 as x approaches negative 1 is equals to 2. So, let's try to evaluate the limit of x squared plus 1 as x approaches negative 1 using the graph. So, kanina, ang ginawa natin sa table ay nag-provide tayo ng mga values ng x which are coming from the left of negative 1 and coming from the right of negative 1. So, in this graph, ma-observe natin na as our x approaching negative 1 from the left, papalapit naman ang ating value ng f of x sa 2. At for the right side, as x approaches negative 1 from the right, ang value ng f of x natin ay papalapit sa 2. That's why the limit of our f of x plus 1 as x approaches negative 1 is equals to 2. So, let's try another example. So, we are asked to investigate the limit of x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1 by constructing the table of values. So, first step, create ulit tayo ng number line. And then, locate kung nasaan ang constant natin. So, provide values from the left of 1 such that these values are approaching 1 from the left and provide another set of x values coming from the right of x such that these values are approaching positive 1. So, as x approaches 1 from the left, ito yung mga values ng x natin from 1.5 to 1.0001. So, for x approaches 1 from the right, ito naman ang ating set of x values from 0.5 to 0.99999. So, complete the table. Substitute the values of x in our function, which is x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x minus 1. So, from the left side, if x is 1.5, our f of x is negative 2.5. If x is 1.17, f of x is negative 2.83. If x is 1.003, f of x is negative 2.997. And for x equals 1.0001, our f of x is negative 2.9999. So, from the right, start tayo kay x equals 0.5. So, as x equals 0.5, ang f of x natin ay negative 3.5. Substitute natin ulit. For 0.88, ang f of x natin ay negative 3.12. For x equals 0.996, our f of x is negative 3.999. 0.004. And for x equals 0.9999, our f of x is negative 3.0001. So step number 2, let us now observe or examine kung saan papalapit yung value ng f of x natin. So from the left side, ang value ng f of x natin ay papalapit sa negative 2.9999 or approximately negative 3. So we can now say that our limit of x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1 from the left is negative 2.9999 or 3. So sa right naman tayo. Saan papunta ang value ng f of x natin? Papunta ang value ng f of x natin sa negative 3.0001 or approximately negative 3. So again, our limit of x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1 from the right is negative 3.0001 or negative 3. Since equal yung dalawang one-sided limits natin, pwede na nating sabihin na ang limit ng x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1 ay negative 3. So let us try to evaluate the limit of the function using a graph. So ito yung graph ng x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x minus 1. Ma-observe nyo dito sa graph na as x approaches positive 1 from the left, ang value ng ating y or f of x ay papalapit sa negative 3. Ganon din sa right side. Or as x approaches 1 from the right, ang value ng y natin or ang f of x natin ay papalapit sa negative 3. Ngayon class, ma-observe natin na mayroon tayong hole dito. Meron tayong unshaded hole. Ibig sabihin yan, yung value ng constant 1 natin ay hindi siya kasama sa domain ng ating function. Why? Kasi once na sinubstitute natin yung positive 1 into our function, magiging undefined yung sagot natin. Plus, lagi niyong tatandaan na ang x natin ay pwedeng kasama or hindi kasama sa domain ng ang ating function. Concern lang tayo sa behavior ng mga x values na papalapit sa constant natin. So another example, we are asked to investigate through a table of values the limit of f of x as x approaches 4. So meron tayong piecewise function. Ang f of x natin ay x plus 1 if x is less than 4. And then, our f of x is x minus 4 squared plus 3 if our x is equal or greater than 4. So as x approaches 4 from the left, ito yung mga provided values ng x natin. So we have 3.7, 3.85, 3.995, 3.99999. And then, so x approaches 4 from the right, ito naman yung mga provided values ng x natin. So we have 4.3, 4.1, 4.001, 4.00001. So complete the table. So class, when dealing with piecewise function, mag-iingat tayo kung anong function ang gagamitin natin. So as x approaches 4 from the left, yung mga provided values ng left natin are less than 4. So anong gagamitin nating function? Ang gagamitin nating function ay x plus 1. Kasi ang f of x natin ay x plus 1 if x are less than 4. So substitute natin yung values sa ating f of x which is x plus 1. And then for x equals 3.7, ang f of x natin ay 4.7. If x is 3.85, f of x natin ay 4.85. If x is 3.995, f of x natin ay 4.995. If x is 3.99999, Ang f of x natin ay 4.99999. So let us now try to complete the table as x approaches 4 from the right. Basically, yung mga provided values ng x natin are greater than 4. So ang gagamitin natin f of x ay x minus 4 squared plus 3. So substitute na natin yung mga values ng x natin sa function. So for x equals 4.3, ang f of x natin ay 3.09. For x equals 4.1, our f of x is 3.01. For x equals 4.001, ang f of x natin ay 3.000001. And for x equals 4.00001, ang f of x natin ay 3. So, tapos na natin kumpletuhin yung table of values natin. Let's try to observe kung ano yung behavior ng f of x natin as x approaches 4 from the left. So, as x approaches 4 from the left, yung f of x natin ay papalapit sa value na 4.99999 or approximately 5. So, we can now say that the limit of f of x as x approaches c from the left is 4.99999 or 5. So as x approaches 4 from the right, ang value ng f of x natin ay papalapit sa 3. So our limit of f of x as x approaches c from the right ay 3. So ma-observe natin dun sa dalawang one-sided limits natin ay hindi sila equal. Kasi as x approaches c from the left, ang limit ng ating function ay 5. While for our limit of f of x as x approaches c from the right, ang limit natin ay 3. So, we can now say that the limit of f of x as x approaches 4 does not exist. Kasi hindi sila papunta sa common value ng f of x. Magkaiba sila ng value dito sa ating one-sided limit. So, try nating evaluate yung function using graph. So, this line is our x plus 1. So, as x approaches 4 from the left, yung f of x natin ay papalapit sa 5. While for this curve, which is our x minus 4 squared plus 3, as x approaches 4 from the right, yung value ng y natin o yung f of x natin ay papalapit sa 3. Since hindi equal yung mga one-sided limits natin at hindi papunta sa common point yung mga f of x natin or yung mga y values natin, masasabi na nating the limit of f of x as x approaches 4 does not exist. Determining the limits by inspection. So in these three examples, we are asked to evaluate the limit using graph. So for letter A, we have to determine the limit of f of x as x approaches negative 2. I-apply lang natin yung na-discuss natin kanina. So by inspection, as x approaches negative 2 from the left, yan, ito yung from the left natin, saan papunta yung y value natin o yung f of x natin? Papunta siyang positive 1. So, try naman natin sa may right side. As x approaches negative 2 from the right, saan papunta ang value ng f of x natin o yung y value natin? Papunta din siya ng 1. Since the same yung mga one-sided limits natin at papunta silang dalawa sa common point which is 1, so masasabi natin the limit of f of x as x approaches negative 2 is 1. So sa letter B naman tayo, we are asked to find the limit of f of x as x approaches 0. As x approaches 0 from the left. Ang y value natin ay papalapit sa positive 3. So from the right, as x approaches 0 from the right, our y value or ang ating f of x value is papalapit ng 3 din. Since equal yung one-sided limits natin and papunta sila sa common point which is 3, masasabi na natin na ang limit ng f of x as x approaches 0 ay 3. So dito sa letter B, ma-observe natin na mayroon tayong hole dito sa point 0,3. Again, gaya ng na-discuss natin kanina, kaya tayo mayroong hole dito kasi yung constant nating 0 ay hindi kasama sa domain ng ating function. And remember, sa pagkuha ng limit or sa pag-evaluate ng limit ng function, concern lang tayo sa behavior ng ating graph papunta sa ating constant. So let's try to answer letter C. So we are asked to find the limit of f of x as x approaches C. So we start from the left. Observe natin, ito yung tree natin. Yan. From the left of tree, saan papunta yung graph natin? Papunta yung y value natin or yung f of x natin sa 0. Sa right side naman tayo. As x approaches 3 from the right, f of x value natin or yung y value natin. Papunta yung y value natin sa y equals 4. Since hindi equal yung dalawang one-sided limits natin, and then hindi sila papunta into a common point, we can now say that the limit of f of x as x approaches 3 does not exist. Okay class, dyan nagtatapos ang ating video. Kung may natutunan kayo sa aking video, just click the subscribe button para lagi kayong updated sa mga susunod na episodes natin sa basic calculus and other video tutorials. Bye and see you on the next video.